hotel. So I guess I've never been to a fundraiser. They raised $600,000. The mayor was there, and they had a speaker. And the speaker's name is Brian Leaf, and he's an ex-football player who became addicted to pain pills. And so he spoke, and he's a good-looking guy, he's a good speaker. But I felt that his, the values that he expressed, and he's a recovery kind of guy, I don't, you know, they weren't consistent with where I thought the program was. For example, he told one of those typical recovery stories where one guy he knew who he said he was addicted to pills, but he put alcohol in with that. One guy he knew, you know, he drank and he ended up dead. That's a typical recovery story, you know. He goes, you don't have control over what happens after you drink. That's their story. You only have control about when you first take that first drink. You know, I'm sitting in the audience, you know, and I'm thinking, well, I don't believe that. And do we believe that? Does Above and Beyond believe that? Because, you know, these guys are out in the street. They're going to take drugs again a lot of times. Do we really believe that after that happens? And so I started fantasizing about doing an intervention with the board and saying, well, do we have any basic principles? Do we believe in harm reduction? Now, this is a private agency. So, you know, well, does your agency believe in harm reduction? Is that a real thing?
I suppose as agencies, and we both work in similar agencies, harm reduction, I suppose it's whatever works for the person where they're doing less harm to themselves.
Yeah.
For some people might not ever get to a place of being fully abstinent.
Oh, for sure it won't get to that place.
So,
and it might even not get to a place where they cut back that much. So I believe that's what people think on site, but we've got a bunch of rich people. I know there's 2,000 people in this ballroom. And I'm thinking, well, what do we believe in? What are our principles? Does everybody on the board share those principles? And what does it mean that the speaker doesn't express those principles? And what does it mean that we're not educating the public about what we believe in? Because in America, maybe more than Ireland, you know, harm reduction is a hard sell. In America, you know, everybody's heard of AA in America. Everybody thinks, well, that's what you do when you go for alcoholism. That's just it. So, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, do we have an obligation to try and tell them that we think differently? I mean, they're given a ton of dough. And everybody knows that we're trying to help people in the inner city. Everybody can figure that out, that it's not, we're not helping professional football players. So why they got a professional football player to speak, I don't know. And do we have any values that are sacred to us that we wouldn't violate, that we would just... And the other thing I thought about Brian Leaf was, I talked to the CEO, he came to the treatment center that morning. He was late. When he got there, he ate breakfast. You know, he didn't really, $7,000 they paid him. He didn't really care. He doesn't give a shit about these people. So to me, it's sort of like one of those books, like he's not really into you. You know, you're having a relationship with somebody who doesn't care about you. So I thought it was degrading myself. So I was wondering how I could do an intervention at the board meeting. And, you know, I was going to say, well, the board is a bunch of people there like this. I was going to say, you know, start at the basics. Do we believe in harm reduction? Well, do you know what harm reduction is? I mean, some of the people know, but some of the people are like business people. Do you know what harm reduction is? Are we a harm reduction organization? What is harm reduction? How do we practice harm reduction? Why do we think it's good? What is our organization's values? Do you feel everybody's on board in your organization?
Yeah,
We were lucky.
Yeah, we all work
Yeah.
consistently.
You're lucky
Yeah,
people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because I don't really know what kind, they have counselors there, but they're interns, I don't know what they believe in. So, that's really that you have values clarity in your own organization, and that you all are on board, that's a wonderful thing. Because we don't have it, we have, at the Light Process Program, we have it pretty much, all the people that we train, we really know, but that's often not the case. Are harm reduction values countywide? Does everybody kind of get on board? Does everybody, what organization do you work for?
I'm retired at the moment. I've come from a nursing background.
She said,
She's retired at the moment, Stanton. She comes from a nursing background.
so what's you just want to find out about things?
Yeah.
How about you? What's your organization?
I'm a teacher with an organisation called the GRETB. But
What's that?
It's an education board.
They're my employers, Stanton.
Be nice to them.
So they run schools and other things, and my job is I work with traveller families.
You
And
work with traveler families?
yeah,
Are they like what they call gypsies?
yeah,
You've got
they're an ethnic
a
group, yeah.
population of travelers.
Yeah, they're Irish travellers.
Specifically
You don't have
Irish
that in New York, I'm not aware of that, but go on.
So they would live in a very different environment than the settled Irish people. And I'm just listening to you talking about does your organisation have the same set of values? And I'm just wondering, are the values that the organisation have, are they going to be the same as the clients who come in?
What's the
and-
answer to that?
Well, I can't imagine that they are.
What's the difference between the organization and the clients?
Well, I suppose individually we all have different values because we're going to all have different attitudes to life. But I would imagine that if you're struggling and have been struggling, and if you see life as a struggle as opposed to a professional person who can see a kind of a goal or a different,
The values will be adapted around the individuals that come into us.
yeah, okay.
And I like to...
Well, let me,
Oh, sorry.
can you restate your organization's values in such a way that it supports the client's values, even if the client's values are different?
Yeah, I would
Like
hope.
how? Do that for me.
Yeah, how?
Well, say
Well, I
what,
suppose a value would be just basic happiness, to just have a peaceful day.
Yeah.
And to feel respected, I suppose, yeah, and to feel love for your children. And because I'm working with, because I...
so you're respecting their values, whatever they are, and trying to,
Adapt. That's
Yeah, they'd be at the centre of our plan, and their values would be our concern, even if they're not theirs. So
Right.
we will work.
Yeah.
is that hard to
to
do?
move forward.
Or did that take some
Depends
practice
on
to learn to do
people.
that?
We'll tailor our approach to someone's needs, how they are presenting, so, yeah, they're at the centre of our.
So that's the key to kind of motivational interviewing, is that you
Sometimes
don't
they may have-
impose.
values, but we may have values that we may think that they should have,
Yeah.
but they may not be at that point
Yeah.
just yet. So we have to always remain focused on that they may not be where we think they should be, and we have to meet them where they're at and meet the values at that time.
So that's, I mean, the joke that I always make, getting back to my Uncle Ozzy, is, oh, so we need to form a new group instead of teaching people to worship a higher power, to be communists, because the joke is, he's a communist, that motivates him, but that's not a general training principle, that's where Uncle Ozzy is at. And so our skill job is to be able to elicit and identify people's values so
I
that,
suppose that's what we do, is person-centred.
Very
You know,
clever.
it's very client-centred approach.
and you
um,
find,
which
does that
is-
present difficulties for you?
Not at all. It's very much in my own value-based system, absolutely. I mean,
We
definitely.
meet people
Is
where
there
they're
any
at.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
meet
I mean,
people
you
where they're
have to
at.
meet them where they're at.
We put an
Um,
environment in place that they're
Yeah.
possibly able to make changes in their lives, but
Put
they're
in a
not
safe
defined.
way.
person isn't defined by their homelessness. You know, they would have had lives outside of that,
Yeah.
before they come into us.
Yeah.
So self-efficacy and agency are underlying values. They sort of are values that say this person is going to be helped to attain what they want, but it's not plugging in what they want. So is that part
Yeah.
to answer your question?
Yeah, it
or-
does, yeah.
Or do you still think, you still imagine that being hard to do? Is it still,
Well, what I would come across would be families that have been affected by addiction. So the family is affected by the addiction. So very often it's the addicted person who gets the main help. Now I know families are involved in it, but in situations I'm thinking of, the addiction may not even be in the household. The addiction may have gone, but the family has been, for maybe 3 generations, been affected by addiction.
do you work with the whole family?
Yeah, but it's very difficult because the answer will be something like, no, that's not how we do it. No, that's not how we do it.
You're told that's not how you do it?
Yeah, that's not the way we are. It'd be a bit like if an American was to come into Ireland and try and tell us how to do something. As an Irish person, we said, that's how you do it in America, but that's not how we do it. And so with this ethnic group, there is that feeling of, that's not how we do it. But it does cause a lot of problems, with children, especially teenagers in school. The behaviour can be quite erratic, and it's kind of from an emptiness, really.
It makes you emotional.